Second intermission time for the Saturday headlines. Elliot Friedman, the big milestone has happened.
Yes, we've been waiting for Sidney Crosby to get to 600, and tonight he did it at home against the Utahns. Crosby becoming the 21st player in NHL history to score 600 goals from an oblique angle, as Danny Gallivan would say. And depending on how Crosby does the rest of this season, he really could climb up this list. If you take a look, he could get as high as 16th this season. He's now 25 behind Joe Sakic and Jerome McGinley are currently in a tie for that spot. Great milestone for Crosby in a career full of them.
Yeah, fantastic. So the front runner for the Hart Trophy, would you agree? Kirill Kaprizov did not play against Calgary today. What's going on?
Well, there's a lot of frustration. First of all, he's going to have an MRI Sunday as the Wild return from their road trip, but the team is really disappointed and just really upset about the situation. Nobody's saying there's any deliberate attempt to injure here, but this is the second time in Kaprizov's career he's been injured on kind of a weird play. If you go back a couple of years ago, so this is the one from this year, the other night with Drake Caggiula in Edmonton. And again, nobody's arguing any attempt to injure on this play. And then a couple of years ago, in March of 2023, this was Logan Stanley. Again, no attempt to injure, but on both plays, no penalty. And the Wild, I think, are just frustrated, disappointed, and upset that they're potentially facing another absence here on their star player, and there's just been no penalty on either play. So just... if you saw some of their post-game quotes today after they lost to Calgary, you can just see they're really, really upset over how Kaprizov's been hurt. I don't know if there's a solution to this, but they are definitely venting their frustration about it.
Matthews.
Yes, so Austin Matthews returned from Germany. He skated before practice today for the Toronto Maple Leafs. He said, look, I had something in the preseason. It seemed to get better, then it got worse. It wasn't getting any better, so I decided to be proactive. He will not play tomorrow against Utah. He said it's possible he could play Wednesday against Florida. Max Domi won't play tomorrow. He could play Wednesday, potentially, we'll see. And Matthew Knies is out until after that Florida game, but the news appears good in the sense that it's nothing long-term, happily to hear.
Me again. Laine, Demko, Besser, JT Miller.
Yeah, so let's take a look for the Montreal and Vancouver fans watching tonight. Patrik Laine is skating in a non-contact jersey. I have asked if there's a chance for him to be in a contact jersey soon. Told no set day, but it's getting closer. For Vancouver, Brock Besser is on this trip. I think it's possible he plays. Thatcher Demko is on this trip. I think the biggest question for the Canucks is, do they want to start him for his first game at home? With everything they have there, would it be more comfortable for them to start him there? And Miller, I don't think we'll see him until the end of the road trip after when they return home. Last game is December 3rd on this trip. One other situation we're keeping an eye on, we've talked about it for a couple weeks now, that's Columbus and David Jiricek. I think there are teams making legit pitches for Jiricek. Columbus has to decide what they want to do here. There have been some reports about Edmonton, but just looking at it myself, I don't know that I see a match there between the Oilers and the Blue Jackets. Columbus is looking for a young player similar in return. I just don't know that Edmonton has the match to make that kind of a deal.
You know, Elliot, another thing you're following right now, the grassroots of hockey, college, junior. It's hard to know who's cutting whose grass these days, but you're going to add a little bit more buzz. What's happening?
Well, this whole thing with the NCAA and the CHL, it's really changing the face of hockey, and you can't, as people say to me, you can't talk enough about it. Well, this week, the Ontario Hockey League had a board meeting on Wednesday, and at that time, a mandate was given to pursue aggressive expansion. That's the phrase I was told. So the OHL is signaling it's willing to expand. You know, a lot of people are wondering if that means USHL teams. I think that's all going to get figured out over the next few months. I'm told it's possible it could happen as early as next season, and I thought we were talking about 2 teams, but I had a few people tell me it could be, Ron, more than 2. So the landscape is changing rapidly.
Well, 32 Thoughts is where you'll get more on that, whether it's you and Kyle or obviously in your column. Okay, Hockey Fights Cancer.
Yes, Luke shouted him out before. I'd like to echo it. Kelly Chase, a big hockey fan as there is. And for my sisters, I'd like to remember our mother, Molly K. Friedman, who passed away on her 35th birthday in 1982, and also my cousin, Charles Pollock, for his family and children.
Fantastic. Listen, we want to do a little big picture look at the Ottawa Senators and the Vancouver Canucks embroiled in that game tonight. Kevin, why don't you lead that conversation?
Well, okay, I'll lead it for the Ottawa Senators. I've watched a lot of Ottawa Senators hockey lately, and there's a good team there. There is the roster, the coaching staff, and the management. I really believe in this team. The problem is, if this is their best hockey, then this is their worst, right? And that's the reason why they're a 500 team. They're up, they're down. And the good teams, the teams that make the playoffs, their best is here, but their worst is not much below. So given a 60-minute game, you're seeing the whole spectrum from the Ottawa Senators. You're seeing great play, Stützle flying around, Tkachuk making plays, but then you're seeing turnovers, giveaways, not getting the puck off from the penalty kill, goals against. And that's the reason for the frustration, and that's the reason for Brady Tkachuk running around at the end of periods, because they need to play well consistently, and their worst can't be that bad, if that makes sense.
No, it does. And that's the two biggest things you see with the Sens is A, the frustration when they get down in games, and B, you don't even necessarily have to beat them. They're going to beat themselves at times. It's teams that are staying patient like the Canucks and wait for them to make mistakes. It's gut check time for the Canucks. Their heartbeat's gone with no Quinn and no JT tonight, and they're still getting it done.
They are. Winnipeg Jets, amazing.
They're great. So, I mean, you think about their resiliency earlier this week, and within this game, you're down by one, and then you look at, they can be a finesse team with beautiful plays, but this is just one where you have to simplify your game. You're playing against an excellent goaltender, incredible lateral movement by Saros, and this is just one you have got two guys in front battling out. You get the puck to the net, and this is just a hard work effort goal. You think about even the Jets where they had their power plays, a couple shots, a couple chances, but they didn't have the traffic in front. So, I mean, for them, the effort and the work, and also just to mention for Sandberg, I mean, you think about the commitment these players are showing, a huge shot block on the PK early in the second. He's not going to return this game.
Luke, you love that word process, right?
That's my favorite.
And in Winnipeg, like, that's a team that just plays to the process the whole game.
Should mention Montreal's boot off the ice at the end of the second period. Vegas has put 5 on the board. That 5 is symbolic of the F1 race tonight in Vegas, where 5 on the grid would be Max Verstappen. Has to be a sign. That's what I'm...
You got to race home for it.
Ooh.
Good.
Listen up.
Yes.
It is the season of goodwill. So instead of dropping the gloves, I'm dropping the gifts to a few guys I clash with. Not Luke. This week, Wayne Simmons.
A courtside legend is born. The Raptor Chicken Nacho Poutine with seasoned chicken, tortilla strips, and nacho cheese sauce.
Legendary.
Get your claws on it.
Kia, movement that inspires.
You can call me Detective Alex Cross. Multiple victims are connected to this. You think you can stop him? I know I can.
Haven't you had enough of these global betting behemoths coming into our backyard, glitzing and glamming their way into our pockets, thinking they know hockey? Pfft, femme tabouche!
Hey! Who are you talking to, Baldy?
That's deeply hurtful. We also know chirping better than anyone. So I'm hitting the road with the border wall to mix it up with real rival hockey fans. Send out the border wall. Send out the border wall. And you can bet on those rivalries with Canada's homegrown sportsbook, Sports Interaction. Great work, gents.
Finally, let's give a warm welcome to our newest residents, the Fernsbys.
It's the cutest little neighborhood.
And you have to meet Desjardins Insurance.
They really go above and beyond.
Thanks.
Way above.
And it's nice knowing someone cares as much as we do.
Perfect!
Well, you don't see that every day.
Thoughts has the NHL covered with exclusive interviews and unmatched insight.
I'm here for Kyle and Elliott.
The insider and the ringsider.
Did you come up with that?
No.
32 Thoughts. Listen wherever you get your podcasts.
Tubi is proud to be free for all the first responders who risk their lives to keep us safe. The teachers, illuminating the minds of our children, and the volunteers who build our communities. Tubi is also free for women who take day naps with way too many candles burning. Couples who steal copper pipe out of the walls at open houses. and kids who skip class to throw rocks at windows. Because Tubi is free for everyone, and we mean everyone.
Men's clothing provided by Jack Victor.
Just a few seconds here in the second to promote what's coming up. Brett Kulak's on After Hours. Huge fans of Brett. Stony Plain, Alberta native, playing 30 minutes from his hometown and been great this year. Connor McDavid, as you know, and the Oilers have struggled the last 3 games. They played 3 and 4 nights with travel, but they're not great right now. They got the New York Rangers in town. Jack Michaels, Louis DeBrusk, Scott Oak later. Third period of the game you're enjoying is coming up next.
Staying in control is important, not just in hockey, but when betting on sports. That's why Sports Interaction, your homegrown sportsbook, has all the tools to help you do just that. Stay in control, just like Mitch. See? It's a metaphor. Webster's defines metaphor as an idea that is, you get it. Mitch Marner, everybody.
This holiday, give yourself more convenience with the Kia Sorento. Give yourself more room for passengers. Give yourself a new way of seeing everything. And more confidence on the road. Get more of what you want with the Kia Sorento and enjoy a little holiday magic. Give yourself more with a $750 holiday bonus on the Kia Sorento.
Kia, movement that inspires.
Do you think people are going to like our pizzas?
Fluffiest dough, local ingredients. What's not to like, son?
Oh, we could call this one Top Cheese.
Smells like you guys are ready to go pro with that,
Colby Armstrong.
Did you know that with Desjardins on your team, you could put a financial plan in place to help get your idea off the ice? It's like putting our dream on a power play.
Wherever you're headed.
We're at my parents' house where I grew up in Scarborough. Probably my earliest memories in the backyard with my 3 older brothers, just skating around. My dad would build a rink most years whenever it was cold enough. I loved being on the backyard rink and just getting to be creative and free. I've always been super competitive, but since a young age, I've always just been able to find the fun in hockey. As a role model, there can be a lot of pressure. I think if I'm on the ice and things aren't really going my way, I try to tell myself to be unstoppable. As a mom, if the game didn't go my way or if it did go my way, he doesn't know the difference and he's proud and he just wants his mom. When you get out on the ice, like, you just forget about every single worry. If things are getting a little too intense, I'm like, go back to, how I felt when I was a little girl. There's just something different about being able to be outside and the wind in your hair, and there's nothing like being on the outdoor rink. It's the best.
28 years in the making. The New York Liberty are WNBA champions.
Stats After 40 brought to you by Desjardins Financial Group. Wherever you're headed, Desjardins is here to assist. And a strong second period by the Predators has them up in shots. The Jets not letting a lot of attempts through, though, doing a good job on shot blocks. And for folks at home, not sure what you were up to during the intermission, but we can tell you what Ryan O'Reilly was likely up to. While most players pop off the shoulder pads and rest, O'Reilly takes all the equipment off and soaks in an ice bath for a few minutes. He says it keeps his legs feeling light and keeps him busy during the intermission. Busy because he's probably taking off and putting on his equipment 4 or 5 times on game day. When you're a 15-year veteran, you have to find ways to stay young. And John, I'm just going by the stories I hear, but sounds like the idea of staying young back in your playing days had a lot to do with maybe not taking a smoke break.
Yeah, that's it. They'd have the cigarette and the lighter there. But my good friend and former roommate once in a while, Gary Smith. Remember Gary Smith, the goalie? He used to do the same thing. Take all his equipment off and then put it all back on. So he didn't have to think about the game during the intermission. It was perfect timing. You take it all off, put it all back on, and away you go. Play the next period.
Current status for John Garrett in this intermission was handing out pizzas in the broadcast booth, right? And thank you for doing that.
Yeah, go down, get a hot dog, and bring some pizza back up. John Matheson, I know he was starving. He's following the Jets around and catching flights to get back-to-back games for the first time this year. He appreciated a little bite to eat.
And for the Winnipeg Jets, they are 3-0-0 when tied after 2. so far this season.